Hello and welcome to FxWB New Beginnings Podcast with Michelle. How are you guys doing this month? We are in October and this is a time we see things changing. We see leaves falling, beautiful colors outside, at least in the US. I know in the Caribbean it's different. It's like we don't see no change in leaves, but you might see leaves falling. But I know in back home we have like the poetry coming up with nice flowers and just the idea of change. It's there. Fall is a really nice season to come and think of, okay, how can I declutter? How can I change what's going on with me? And, figure out how to make things anew. So we here at New Beginnings Podcast are so happy that you are following along, listening to each episode that we have shared thus far. And in this second year, we are concentrating a lot on our well-being. We always talk about enhancing our well-being through health, through finding your purpose or cultivating your purpose, looking at the environment in which you're in, building relationships, understanding your community that you belong to or would like to belong to, and financial security, as well as security in your makeup. We are here to ensure you that one can enhance their well-being through these many facets of life. And today we want to continue our talk with persons who have been through it. And what am I talking about? Persons who have been through cancer. Today, we're going to talk to someone with respect to breast cancer. But before we even talk about that, I want to say one of my quotes that I would love to share. This one is from Norma Vincent Paley. Believe in yourself and have faith in your abilities. Without humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. You might be saying, why a quote like this at this time? You will see. Words that jumped out at me is believe in yourself. Be confident, right? Reasonably confident. And believe in your own power. You cannot be successful or happy if you don't do that. How can we relate this to what we're speaking about today? Even though we have setbacks, we can come out of it. And whether it's a health issue versus something happening with your finances or even your environment in which you're in, we can be better in any circumstance if we believe and have hope that we can get through it. Yes? So today we are talking with one of my cousins from my husband's side. And yes, you're probably thinking, she talking to a lot of family. Well, because we are all affected by cancer. Each family may be affected, at least one person in their family may be affected by this particular disease. Breast cancer in particular is especially for the African American. I think they said 1 out of 8 persons, ladies, can be diagnosed with breast cancer. Breast cancer is something that we need to take cognizance of and help ourselves not get it. But sometimes we not too sure why we get something, but we have to deal with it if it's there, right? And Miss Ericka writing, she is going to talk to us today about her experiences with breast cancer. Now, this is something that has happened recently, and I am happy that she has taken the time to want to share this with us because it is something that we all need to make sure and take heed of to help ourselves in the future. So, welcome again, Erica.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me on. So such an honor.
Yes, yes, it's an honor that you took the time to come on. We are humbled that you're sharing your story. And I just want to get right into it, Erica. Tell us who you are and what happened.
Yeah. So I'm Ericka Writing, formerly born and raised in Indianapolis, and recently, about 4 years ago, relocated for a career opportunity to Los Angeles, California. Family of four. My mom's with me, my husband, and my daughter. And I'll talk to you a little bit about kind of my experience if you want me to just, if I can just jump right into it.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. So, to be quite honest, as we were all going through the pandemic, everyone, we knew that everyone was not getting their checks, their annual exams, things of that nature, and to be honest, I didn't either. And there was a moment, a kind of an aha moment for me that said, I need to make sure I go for my mammogram. If I didn't do anything else, I just had this intuition, this gut, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to coin it. I knew that I needed to go. And so I got the annual text, hey, come get your mammogram done. I hurried up and scheduled it. So I went in November of last year for my mammogram. And about 3 weeks later, I got a text that said, you need to come back. And I was like, well, why? So I called and they were like, well, there's some calcifications that we see and we just want to recheck. Doesn't mean it means anything. I have a girlfriend who's been in the breast cancer business for about 20 years, who runs her own nonprofit organization in Indianapolis. And I called her and she said, Ericka, calcifications are normal, but definitely don't miss the appointment. So I was scheduled for January. Again, we're talking November for the initial conversation. Now we're in January. And I also looked at it like, oh, it's January. It's not that big of a deal because if it's that important, they would have scheduled it earlier. So I go January, probably like the 10th. And I went in, had a free mammogram. They immediately sent me to the ultrasound room. And then when I'm in the ultrasound room, they went and got the radiologist who came in and said, we want to send you for a biopsy. And immediately I kind of broke down. I knew it was the intuition that I had, I knew was coming to reality. And
Right.
yes, and
Wow. That was quick.
it was quick. It was quick. Um, The interesting thing, though, and I think that the one of the biggest things I want to talk about today is early detection and advocacy, because advocacy for yourself is hugely important when you go through things like this. When they asked me to schedule my mammogram, they told me March, and I said I'm not waiting to March. I don't
Good.
know what this is. I don't know if this is aggressive. I don't know if this is. I don't know what stage it is. I'm not waiting to March. And we have to advocate for ourselves because there are many of us that are going through the same things and we just don't know about it, but we have to stay in front of it. And so I went for my biopsy, and a week later, my doctor called and said, hey, tell me about your mom. Did you say your mom had breast cancer? I said, yes. And she said, well, you do have it, and it's very minor, but it's there. And I have already scheduled you an oncology surgeon appointment for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All
Exactly.
right.
So I'm like, is this bad or good? She's like, it's not, it's stage 0, which was a blessing. So I
Right.
went to
So
see,
if
hmm,
anybody don't know, there are different stages of breast cancer. It's 0 to 4, right?
correct.
Yep. And 0 is good. In this case, 0 is good, but it's
Yes,
still there.
that's right.
Right.
Um, and I'll fast forward a little bit because I want to get into the what it means, right? Like
Hmm.
the 0 is kind of a sigh of relief because as you're waiting on the biopsy, you're nervous the entire time. You're
Right.
praying, you're doing everything to make sure that you can prepare yourself for that conversation. And a
Right.
good portion of women don't have the diagnosis, and thank goodness for that. but there are some of us that will, like you said, the 1 in 8. And
Mhm.
so what's important here is that um, I did have the biopsy. It did come back. It was stage 0. Stage 0 is normally ductal carcinoma and ductal carcinoma alone, meaning
Got it.
contained in the milk duct. The cancer cells are contained in the milk duct and it doesn't spread, or it hasn't spread to the tissue. Once it spreads to the tissue, then you get into the stage 1, 2, 3s, and 4s because it starts to
Got it.
impact the rest of your body.
Right.
I do want to talk about, Michelle, if I can take a step back and talk about
Yes.
the early detection. It's so important for women of color, especially because we are usually the ones that have the most aggressive types of breast cancer, which is triple negative breast cancer and HER2 positive, HER2 negative. Those we have to educate ourselves on that, because my first question to my oncologist is, do I have that?
Right.
And I didn't, because it hadn't spread. It only happens when it spreads. But what he did tell me over the course of my treatment was I had a lot of cancer cells, which meant if I didn't catch it early, it would have been aggressive.
Yes. And let me interject here.
Yeah.
Guys, we all have cancer cells in our bodies, but if you have too much of it, that is where the problem arises.
Mm-hmm.
And I could step back even further. For you not to have too much of it, we go right back to nutrition. Carry on. I just had to put that in there
I love it.
because a lot of people don't understand that. They think it's just, oh yeah, we have cancer cells in our bodies. Yes, we all do, but it's what we put into our system, the environment in which we're in.
Yeah.
It affects us. It affects the amount or quantity of cancer cells and what happens next.
Such a great point, because I'll tell you, Michelle, it's funny because going into my diagnosis, I had changed completely. I stopped eating red meat. I stopped eating pork. I stopped drinking Dr. Pepper. I hadn't had one. I was addicted to Dr. Pepper for 10 years.
I know.
I haven't had one since December 31st of last year.
Jesus, thank you. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
Because
But
I
I
remember
knew,
you
yeah,
drinking Dr. Pepper.
yeah.
And
But I
and right
knew,
and Erica, if you don't mind, share
yes.
your age.
When I was diagnosed, I was 42. I'm 43 now.
Ladies, that's normally the time when diagnosis come into play. We don't realize it when we're younger.
Mm,
Is as we get older, 30s, 40s, 50s, that's when we realize or detect these issues coming up. A matter of fact, most diseases or deficiencies, you see it around that time of your age with ladies. And it's not a coincidence. That's just how our body works. Thank God it shows up to the point where you could get it dealt with. So it does not become a disease state.
yes.
That is the best part about it. But we have to note that that is when things happen, and when you want to try to check and double check things. My father used to say check and check. He always
Yeah.
says that, check and check, to make sure things are okay. So
Yeah.
yes, so great job checking and getting that intuition to check on yourself, and even requesting to have the biopsy done earlier and all of that. It's important.
It's
Very good.
hugely important. And the thing I found out, over my journey and talking to other women that have had it, or other women, when I'm vocal about it, come out and say, I'm scared. Ladies, we cannot be fearful to get ourselves checked. This disease is curable if we do
It
the work.
is.
If we
Yes.
do the work. And I mean, it's too many of us that are getting this more and more and younger, and we cannot have fear or use fear as the reason why we don't advocate or early detect. Um,
Correct.
I'm thankful for the early detection, and I'm thankful I listened to my intuition, um, because it saved my life. And I'll talk about my treatment plan too, because I know people are probably like, well, what happened next? um, so it's funny because what you just said, Michelle, is so accurate. Like, I feel like, and I think I've watched a podcast or a show on Netflix that talked about 40s being the most challenging times of our lives because our kids are going to college, our parents are aging. That's when we start to see ailing bodies. All of that starts to culminate in our 40s. And so much happened. So much happened for me this year. And so again, when I talk February diagnosis, February 16th, I'm talking this year. That happened this year. And I'm still
Right.
through my treatment plan. But February 16th, I got the diagnosis, went to see the oncology surgeon. And the first word she said to me is, "You're young. Like, you're young. I cannot believe you have this young." And I
Mm.
said, "I know, but my mom had it too." She's like, "Okay." So we set up to have a lumpectomy, which was just to remove the cancer area. But let me be clear, it didn't just come like that overnight. I had to go through a lot of testing. I had to get a genetic testing to see if I carried the gene. I had to get a mammogram. I had to get another ultrasound. And they wanted to send me for one more biopsy. And to ladies, it becomes overwhelming. It really does. When you've had no
Right.
issues with your health, I've never had anything, not heart disease, not high blood pressure, not nothing. And then boom, I have breast cancer. It was overwhelming for me because I
Mhm.
just didn't know what to expect. So I'm going for these ultrasounds and mammogram ultrasound. I mean, it's MRIs, and all
Right.
this other stuff. Um, but to fast forward, so my my surgery was scheduled. I'm trying to think of the dates. My surgery was scheduled for like March the 16th, and then they moved it, and then they moved it back. And it was just trying to get me into their working schedule. So if they wanted to do it early, fine, I was doing it early. But as I was getting ready to go for surgery, my dad died. And
Mm.
so I was like, okay, well, now I got to push surgery because I got to go back to Indianapolis to bury my father. Again,
Mm.
life, like these 40s are really the times where we have to take good care of ourselves. We've got to put
Wow.
well-being, wellness as the primary. Lower your stress levels. Take care of you first and foremost. So I put the surgery off. By this time, it was determined that I needed to do a double mastectomy, which means to remove the breast tissue on both. And that was because I went for an MRI and my cancer was in my right breast. But when they looked at the MRI, it looked like it was in my left breast. But it looked
Mm.
like it was in my left breast aggressively. And they were scared that when they got in there to do a lumpectomy, they would find more. Um, so I said, just just do it.
Mhm.
Just do the double mastectomy. So August 6th, I'm sorry, April 6th,
April.
April 6th, my dad's birthday. I had the double mammogram. And the next week, they called me. I think that was a Thursday. They called me Monday. I stayed over there overnight, a couple nights. It wasn't easy. I had the double mastectomy. I woke up the next day and I had a hematoma, so I had to go back into surgery. And once I went back into surgery, they came back out. I was good to go. Stayed another night and went home. Um, the next week, you're still waiting on the clear margins,
Mhm.
meaning that there's no cancer around the area that was cancerous. And then again, in the back of my mind, I'm also weighing that they said that there's something going on the left breast that wasn't even detected in the beginning. So my oncology surgeon called and said, "You're clear. There's nothing wrong with the left breast at all. And the margins that we caught are intact. So you're good." So perfect. After that, I went to see my oncologist. Again, you have all these doctors now, right? Oncology surgeon, oncologist, plastic surgeon, radiologist. Like it's just a suite of people taking care of you.
Mhm. And bearing in mind, you were never sick before, and now
Never
we
sick
have
before.
this. Mm.
Never had a. I think the worst I've had was anemia at one point, and it went away.
Mm.
So, um, I went to see my oncology surgeon, and it was good news that it was over. I did not have to do chemo or radiation, which is a rare experience, and I'm thankful for that. The double mastectomy did exactly what it needed to do. I did have a choice though, and again, as you go through your treatment plan, ladies, make sure you have options. You know, if you can get options, make sure you have options. And my option was to have a lumpectomy and go on hormone pills for 10 years plus radiation, or have a double mastectomy and be done. To me, it was obvious. I don't want anything extra in my body.
Mhm.
I don't want anything altering my mood with these hormone pills. I've heard good and bad stories, and I want to take more control. So it was just to me the easiest option to do the double mastectomy. I did all my research. I talked to a lot of women that had already had this procedure. The biggest fear I had was pain. And coming out of that, would I have a lot of pain? So I had a lot of conversations with my oncologist as well as my plastic surgeon. And because I'm asking the questions, again, advocacy, so important, ladies,
Mhm.
advocacy. Um, I was asking, well, what can you do to prevent the pain? Oh, well, we can give you what we call ERAS, ERAS. And it's a suite of drugs you take 3 days prior going into surgery. You'll take a Tylenol, a gabapentin, and another drug to just prepare the nerves to be severed.
Mhm.
And I never one time had pain. I never, not one time. I was so fearful that, I'm going into surgery in the waiting room, boohoo crying because I'm scared of the pain, but not knowing that caused the hematoma. My blood pressure rising made the hematoma happen.
Mhm.
And so, again, I'll talk about the other procedures, but I had other procedures, but I knew then I won't do that again. I won't
Right.
work myself up.
Right.
So I came out of that surgery, no pain. Went home, recovery, no pain. The next step was to do reconstruction. So now during the double mastectomy, the breast tissue is removed, and they put in what they call. I always get this term wrong. I think it's. I want to say like spacers, but I can't remember the term.
Okay. Right. I know what you're talking about, though. It's to fill the area
That's right.
before you get to doing the
That's right.
reconstruction. Yeah.
Yes. So they put these objects in you to fill it up your breast again and to expand the tissue to be able to receive implants. So
Mhm.
that's a 6 week process. You have to get it filled up every 6 weeks. Every week for
Every
6
week.
weeks,
Mhm.
and then prepare for the reconstruction. So
Mhm.
on the reconstruction, another point I want to make about this journey is prepare yourself to not know what's going to happen next because it's just unpredictable. I went for my reconstruction surgery. I woke up. Again, I went through the whole ERAS 3 days, preparing my body. I'm ready. I'm eating all the right things, all of these good things to prepare. I get there, going to surgery. I see my doctor. He's like, "You ready? We're going to surgery." I come out. I wake up and I look down and I have there's nothing there. There's nothing, no change. And I'm like,
Mhm.
uh-huh. So I asked the nurse what happened. They're like, well, some of your skin died along the
Mhm.
6 week journey of getting it refilled. And we had to fix it so we couldn't do your reconstruction. I was devastated. I had not prepared that when I walked out of there, I wouldn't have the reconstruction.
Mhm.
And so I cried the whole way home. The drive is about an hour. I get home. I'm ready to go back to work. I call my boss. I'm like, I cannot believe this. Um, but it gave me a pause to rethink my treatment plan. So instead of doing the implants, which I heard have a lot of side effects, which include rejection, your body rejects them completely, all kinds of infections, you have to change them 10 years anyway. I just didn't want to go through the maintenance of it all. And so I went back to my doctor and I was like, first I called him after the surgery that day. because I didn't get to talk to him afterwards. I was knocked out. And so I called him. I was like, thank you for making the right ethical decision. I just first want to say thank you. And he was like, Eric, I couldn't, I know it wasn't what you wanted, but I couldn't ethically correct skin and then turn around and put an implant in. Like, that's just too much on the body.
Yeah.
So I scheduled another appointment for him with him. This is my plastic surgeon now. And I went back in. I started doing research on using my own tissue as my implant.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called him. I was like, hey, can I consider this new procedure? And he's like, absolutely. And he told me very transparently, Ericka, I have 8 patients today. 6 of them have issues with implants.
Mm. Wow.
Again, advocacy and doing your research is so important. I joined a group on Facebook of women who have gone through this, using your own tissue to reconstruct your breast. And there's always risk with every surgery,
Yes.
but we have to be as informed as we can.
Correct.
So, mind you, my surgery my double mammogram was about 6 hours, 6 hour procedure. The reconstruction with the own tissue, it was 12
Oh my goodness.
12 hours.
That is long.
And scary to be under
Yeah.
that long, to know that you're under that
Yes.
long. And you have to prepare yourself mentally. But I went through that surgery. It was the toughest surgery I had. Again, still no pain. Had no pain. I've not had any pain the entire time I've been through my treatment.
Mhm.
And my reconstruction surgery has done really well. The reconstructive surgery basically is kind of like having a tummy tuck to a degree, because
Mhm.
it takes the fat from your stomach. I didn't have a lot of fat, so only thing I can take
Right. You
my
you weren't that big anyway.
so my boobs aren't that big anymore, but that's okay. But they took the fat from my stomach and reconstructed it into my boobs, um, and so again, that was the process for that is longer in the beginning, but the outcome is better in the long run.
Right.
You don't have to keep getting it changed, all that good stuff. So since then, I think I'm 13 weeks post surgery from that surgery today, 13 weeks today.
Mm.
And those weeks matter because you're watching, it's kind of like a organ transplant. You're
Mhm.
watching your body to make sure that nothing's failing. You're watching to make sure that color doesn't change and that you're not changing and all that good stuff. And not only are you just watching the breast now you're watching the stomach too, because that has been opened up.
Right.
But I wouldn't change the treatment plan that I had for the world. Excuse me. I think it was the best decision that I made the entire time, even with the waking up and not having ideally what I wanted. It was the best decision because it helped me to rethink what I wanted to do for the long term.
Yes.
And it has
Yes.
been a wonderful, I've had a great suite of doctors. I will say that. And my next procedure is October 26th, and it's my final one. And
Okay.
that one is just to fix the last procedure, the reconstruction. And that's because once you go in, there's little things you got to go back and fix. And when they take this fat from your stomach, they also take the skin, and they take the skin, a patch of skin, to make sure that they use a Doppler to read to make sure that the vessels are connecting to the breast, this
Right.
breast skin. And
Mhm.
so they have to use a little Doppler. When I was in the hospital, every hour they would come and listen for blood flow to make sure that they connected correctly. Again, this is
Got it.
kind of like an organ transplant. So they're constantly listening and everything. And you have in the first 48 hours, you will know if it failed. And hallelujah, it did not.
Right. Yep. Your skin is an organ, so it's the same concept. It's learning, trying to see if it adapted to the area it's moved to. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Thank God it's working.
Thank
Yay!
God. Exactly. So on this reconstruction part 2, they're going to remove that skin that's no longer needed and then close the breast up because it kind of
Okay,
looks like patchwork right now. Like it's like a little patch here from your stomach with the rest of your breast, and it doesn't match. So they take that skin out and reclose the breast, and that's it.
good.
Um, so next steps, every 6 months, I have to get a chest X-ray to make sure that there's no cancer there. Even though you take all the tissue out, there's still some left, or they don't get it all, and there's still that small chance, 1 to 2%. But you still want to take care of yourself. You still want to advocate. You still want to detect. And to me, the biggest thing, if you don't take anything from what I'm saying today, is don't let fear cost you a later diagnosis. It's not worth it, and you can get the treatment. You can.
Yes. Thank you so much, Erica, for sharing this and opening up and being so detailed about what you went through during this for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, nearly 9 months, more so a year, nearly
Yeah,
a year, because you found out in
November.
November when you did the first mammogram. We need to, ladies, check ourselves. I will say this: if you're in your 40s, go find out what's going on, because you may have checked it in your 30s and nothing was wrong.
Mhm.
Check yourself. In the morning, you massage yourself, you find out what's going on in there. And if by chance you feel something is not right, go to the doctor and check yourself.
Can I speak to that, Michelle?
Yes. Yes.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, again, I had the intuition, but I also had some feeling that didn't feel right. And I
Mhm.
still have my cycle, my monthly cycle, but it didn't feel like my same cycle. I didn't have a lump, but I felt different, and I felt like I had more intensity. So, sometimes women have sensitive breasts as they start to come on their cycle.
Mhm.
Mine was intense, and I was like, this isn't normal. And
Right.
so I knew that there was something there. So just listen to your body too. Because my mom went through the same thing, same diagnosis, same age. Me and my mom. She was
Wow.
42, I was 42. Exact same diagnosis, everything. And it's something there with listening to your body. Listening, if anything changes, get it checked. The
Yes.
slightest thing. And it's not to scare you, it's to prepare you.
Correct. Yes. So keep that in mind. We not trying to scare you. This is not a scare
No,
podcast. Okay. This
no.
is a podcast all about helping us all ladies enhance our well-being. We
Mhm.
talking about health, we talking about breast cancer. If you can go get it checked, that is what we want you to do. Go get checked, find out what's going on with your body, so that you could be prepared to deal with whatever is going on with your body. If you don't get a check, if you don't know what's going on and you have an intuition, go in and see your doctor and let them check that for you to make sure all is well. And if all is not well, now you know there are steps that you can take. And as Erica mentioned, there are different treatment plans. You cannot don't just take one treatment plan as is. There are many different treatment plans you can have. Research information. There's a lot of information online. Like many people say, Google it. There is a lot of information online. You can be able to find out what is best for you. Join Facebook groups. Erica joined a Facebook group to help her learn more about what's going on with other ladies who have had different types of treatment plans to find out what's going on with them. So, again, you want to get the information. Don't be afraid. It can be a fearful thing, but don't be afraid, because you know what? Remember the quote I said earlier? Believe, have hope, have some reasonable confidence in yourself. Because if you didn't have the intuition, you're not going to find out, right? So believe in yourself, because your body is telling you something. Go get it checked and get things done. All right. Thank you, Erica, so much for
Uh,
sharing this with us today. And I know we are going to try to make sure and wrap this up a little more or share more information with
yeah,
others at the end of this month. But I am appreciative of you sharing your story and your journey thus far with having breast cancer and getting it out of you, getting reconstructed. I'm still going through that process of being reconstructed. This is a podcast for us to learn from. Um, Please, if you're in your 40s, go get checked. I can't say that.
yeah,
I can't stop
yeah,
saying it. Just go get checked. Make sure all is well. For me, I detest mammograms because it hurts like a mother as far as I'm concerned. I do not like it. But if you gotta get checked, you gotta get checked. Okay?
yes, yes. I too never liked mammograms, but I will say in closing, the worst fear I had was the not knowing. Once I knew, I was good.
Right. Right. So it's always good to know. Knowledge is power. It's always good to know so you can know your next steps. Thank you so much,
Thank
Erica.
you for
This
having
has
me.
been, yes, we are so happy to have you. This has been FxWB New Beginnings Podcast. We are here to always help you and help others. All right. We are grateful for your listening ear. Go get checked, and we will talk again soon. Have a blessed day, guys. Talk to you soon.